Picking a wedding photographer can be a difficult decision. You have to consider more than just whether or not you like the photos on their website. And even though there are some incredibly talented professional photographers out there, unfortunately, it's easier than ever to just go buy a camera from Costco, take a few photos from a friend's wedding, and put up a website. So here's a list of questions to ask your potential wedding photographer that you meet to make sure that you don't get ripped off. Here are the questions to ask. What happens if our wedding date needs pushed back? What will be delivered to me? Can we print our own wedding photos? What is the turnaround time on your wedding photos? Can we pick, or can you help us pick, a location for our engagement photos? What happens if we don't like our engagement photos? What happens if your camera dies while I'm walking down the aisle? And have you ever had to make a claim on your business insurance for an incident that happened at a wedding? Now let's talk about why these questions are important. Question 1, what happens if our wedding date has to get pushed back? I've seen it all, from family emergencies and even venues that accidentally double book a couple because a couple have to push their wedding date back. Okay, so as much as you don't anticipate having to move your wedding date, it might happen. So ask your photographer what their policy is if your date has to be moved, just so that you're better prepared. Now, question number 2, what will be delivered to me? Some photographers will just send you a link to view your photos online after your wedding, and others will hand wrap a USB drive or prints and mail them to you with an album. Talk to your fiance about what you want from your wedding photographer after the wedding so that you can make sure that you pick a wedding photographer who will deliver exactly what you are looking for. Now, number 3 is, can we print our own photos? Now, this may seem like a crazy question, but some photographers have a business model where they shoot your wedding for cheap and then try to make the majority of their money on the back end through prints, and therefore don't allow you to print, they don't allow you the print rights, allowing you to print whichever photo that you choose. So ask your photographer if the print rights are included, allowing you to print your own photos. Question number 4 is, what is the turnaround time on wedding photos? I'm sure that you have heard horror stories of brides having to wait 4, 5, 6 months or more for their wedding photos. Unfortunately, this happens more often than not. And even if your photographer promises that you will have your wedding photos in a timely manner, ask for a delivery date to be listed in the contract to protect you. Question number 5 is, can we pick, or can you help us pick, a location for our engagement photos? The last thing that you want is to book the perfect photographer only to find out that they shoot engagements in just 2 or 3 different locations without charging some sort of fee. Now, if you have an idea for where you want your engagement photos, feel free to ask your photographer if they will be open to suggestions. Or on the other hand, you may have no idea where you want to take your engagement photos and would welcome any suggestion that the photographer has from their experience. Question number 6 is, what happens if we don't like our engagement photos? Now, it's entirely possible that you could go through a photographer's entire portfolio, fall in love with their work, and book them for your wedding, only to find that when it's time for your engagement session, you aren't happy with the results. Now, this is rare, sure, but it's entirely possible, and you don't want to be stuck with a photographer if you discover that they can't deliver what you want out of your engagement photos and wedding photos. So ask your photographer what would happen if you found yourself in that situation. I think any reputable photographer would try to find out exactly what you're not happy with and then offer a reshoot. And then if you're still not happy, they should give you your money back and then a list of other photographers who might be a better fit for your needs. Okay, question 7 is, what happens if your camera dies while walking down the aisle? This is your wedding day. It's once in a lifetime. And walking down the aisle is a pretty important moment, right? So if your photographer's camera decides to just die right then and there, you should know what your photographer is going to do. Now, although it would be a bummer to have one of my cameras die, as a professional, they should have a backup equipment to be able to keep going no matter what happens. Question number 8. Have you ever had to make a claim on your business insurance for an incident that happened at a wedding? Any professional will have liability insurance, right? A plumber, a bank, a doctor. So should your photographer. Ask them if they've ever had to file a claim for something that happened at a wedding. Oftentimes at weddings there is alcohol and just great dance moves, and sometimes mistakes happen, okay? So ask the photographer that you are interviewing what would happen if an accident were to happen at your wedding. Okay, asking any photographer that you interview these questions will give you a great idea of what to expect and give you a good idea of their personality. I'm Raymond, a wedding photographer right here in Indianapolis, and if you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'm always happy to help. That's it. Talk to you soon.